You were not meant to be a slave to the grind. You were not meant to trade your life force for money. You can escape gravity. You can unlock your life. You got this. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Unlock Your Life. This is your host, Jennings Smith. I really appreciate you being here today, tuning in, mostly because I have a phenomenal guest. Chris was introduced to me by my podcast producer, and this guy said, you got to meet Chris Williams. Chris is an ultra marathoner. He has an electric skateboard. He has 5 kids. I got 4 kids, so I feel his pain there. But he's also a speaker, author, and his specialty is he works with guys that have large followings, across social media, email lists, whatever, and he helps them to build high ticket masterminds. Now, I'm in a high ticket mastermind myself, but if you hear somebody that's got a $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 a year mastermind, Chris may be the mastermind behind helping that guy build this. And so I was really excited to talk with Chris because I have my own opinions about masterminds and why not. I've done one. I'm obviously in one. But Chris, welcome to the show. I appreciate you spending some time with us and my audience. Thank you, man.
Jennings and all you super fans of this show, like, what a cool place to be. Thanks for hanging out with me for a few. I know you don't know me yet, but like in a show like this where you actually have real content and real ability to see how your life can change, those are like really valuable shows. So, dude, thanks for putting this together for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you give us a little bit of background on how you got into this, just a little bit of your story?
Yeah. So for me, masterminds weren't like the original target. I didn't even really know what one was. I'd owned a financial advisory firm, as many of us are. I mean, everybody listening here, most of you are entrepreneurs. I get it, right? We do stuff. So I'd owned a financial advisory firm. I actually was trying to figure out this whole rental property thing, which is kind of an interesting thing for this connection here. And I just was not enjoying the place I was. So I started building a creative digital marketing agency. I saw opportunity in that market and we built one. We rocked and rolled. I read this book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Shout out, Tim. I know you listen to this show, so dude, freaking awesome book. That book changed so much for me because it allowed me to figure out how to use systems and processes to build something around the sale of my information and not just me showing up and doing something over and over again. All of you have figured out how to do something that's really valuable to a lot of people that want to know how you do what you do. So figuring that out was a big change for me. So I started selling. My first mastermind was teaching people how to build the marketing agency model that I had built. And I was working like an hour a week in that model at that point. So it was really efficient. And then after a while, people started saying, hey, will you teach us how to build our own mastermind? So that's where Group Coach Nation came from. And that's how it all started. But I didn't have that as a goal. It just happened because I was learning how to be more and more efficient with my time and profit and separating time from profit. And I know in the real estate space, that is a huge piece, is separating your time from your profit, because otherwise you're just the bottleneck to your success. So it's all the same stuff. It's just a matter of how you go about doing it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think education, I have an education company, the Deal Room, and it's one of the most efficient business models there is because I'm teaching people, stuff I've learned through the School of Hard Knocks. I'm helping them modify behavior. I'm creating an environment to make partnerships, and these deals put together literally can make them hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars down the road. And so, yeah, there's an investment, but it's just the value proposition is totally there for people that are willing to, to grab it and do the work. But the scale is there, whereas before, I was a contractor. If you hired me to renovate your kitchen, well, I made the sale, cool, but then I had to actually go and renovate your kitchen. And I'm doing that, then I can't be renovating your neighbors or somebody else's. And there's just a finite limit. Even if I'm hiring more project managers and subcontractors, it's difficult to scale because I need more personnel, more materials, more overhead, more billing, more collections, et cetera, versus if I add somebody to an education program, it's really not a one-to-one effort to revenue ratio there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true. And that was a big deal. So when we had purely our digital marketing agency, it was that bottleneck. And we were building the agency bigger and we were scaling and hiring staff and scaling that way. But when you're actually doing the work, it actually slows you down. And the truth of it is the people that you're working with in whatever information space we're all in, again, because even if you're in the real estate space, obviously if in the real estate space, you found your home. I mean, Jennings is the guy. But even in that space, you know stuff. You know how it is. You got people taking you to coffee and lunch trying to say, oh, how'd you get into this? And you're like, well, I'm in Jennings Mastermind. Well, cool, but tell me more about this. They don't want to join Jennings Mastermind. They want to talk to you. Like, all of us know stuff, and that valuable information changes people's lives because people don't want to spend the next 3 to 5 years trying to figure out what you figured out. So it could be parenting. It could be health and wellness. It could be how to run or sell. Maybe you sold another business before you got in real estate. Launch a mastermind on how to sell a business. Like, look in your past. What did you figure out? What were you successful at? Boom. Teach people how to do that.
Yeah. And I think that there's a need for that. I was talking to a guy who was going through how he did a extremely unique skill. And yeah, I couldn't sit there and pepper him with questions for the next 4, 6, 8 hours. But I was like, man, I wish this guy had a course. Like, if he had a course, I'd buy that course because I want to learn how to do that. And, he didn't, of course. But it's just, I think that people, they miss the boat on that. And I'm in a mastermind about, being a parent, interacting with your kids, communicating with your spouse, and focusing on that, because I know that will improve if I focus on that. But just somebody that's putting that community together is huge. And I think that it also opens the doors with relationships. And, my best friends are in my masterminds and in my deal rooms, my business partners. And that never comes about if that group is not facilitated.
I think it's so cool that you mentioned you were just in a parenting and relationship mastermind, because people often think, well, you can only sell information about how to make money. That is so not true. There's always thousands of people looking to figure out what you figured out in your life, whatever category it is. You take this from both ways, right? You join a mastermind if you're trying to learn, and you teach one if you're trying to teach. And the last thing I'll say about this, and then I'll shut up, and Jennings, you take the show, man. This is your show, not mine. We as humans learn 5 times faster in group settings than we do one-on-one with coaches. If you want help figuring out moving into real estate and figuring out this multifamily, like big scalable thing, don't call Jennings and ask him to help you one-on-one. Like, join his mastermind, because he's teaching you the real stuff. As an example, this is a great one, but you're going to learn more from hearing everybody else in his community ask questions and get answers. You'd be like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought to ask that question. Like, the neighbor on the Zoom call for you is going to help you have the aha moments, just like the host of the mastermind. So I'm like such a believer in this. This is the only kind of thing I learn from now, is these group settings. I freaking love it.
It's funny you say that, because the evolution of helping people, it first started where I had my free Facebook group, My First Million in Multifamily. If you're listening, you probably are in that group, but it's huge. And people would reach out. They'd want to pick my brain. They'd want to have a call with me. And I'd have the call, because I'm just getting started and I was excited about what I was doing. And I would have the call, and it was like over and over beating my head against the wall, no progress. They didn't do anything with the information. I left feeling kind of frustrated. Like, I knew that they didn't get it. And so the first iteration was, look, I'm going to build a course. Like, I can't sit here and talk to people for hours and hours. I'm going to build a course, distill it all into an efficient way to communicate it. Did that, still didn't get a whole lot of results, or my students didn't, because like you said, there's only a very few people that can just take a course and run with it and do it. And so when we brought in the coaching and the small group aspect and put them in groups of 8 to 10 and had a sprint leader and had them lay out their goals that they were accomplished over the next 6 weeks and put the power of the pack behind them, that's when we started to see night and day, massive results. And of course, the deal room grew because it was effective now. And so I've seen that firsthand. I mean, I still kind of stumbled on it, but because the course itself did not work.
Brilliant. I love that you stumbled on it. People get lucky when they're ready, and you were ready. And that's so cool. You didn't get lucky. You did the work, and the next step was obvious. Well done.
Exactly. So, okay. So let's go extreme. Let's go $150,000 mastermind. I remember the first mastermind I heard about was 25 grand, and it blew my mind. I had never even heard of the term 4 years ago. And I was like, who in their right, what idiot would do that? Like, paying that kind of money for friends. Of course, I didn't have that kind of money, but talk to me. What does $150,000 a year mastermind look like? What kind of world are you stepping into with that?
Masterminds go to all kind of prices. There's lots of masterminds out there. They're $1 million a seat. It's not that uncommon, believe it or not. what you're stepping into is more and more, you're going to think this is crazy, but the more simple and focused the mastermind is, the better. So, for instance, you guys are trying to like rock and roll, everybody here listening in, y'all are all about your real estate and getting up. Okay, I suck at real estate. Can we just say, if you're listening to me for real estate advice, you came to the wrong freaking place. That's Jennings. So if you're here for real estate stuff, you don't want to know what's the most complicated, intricate path to being successful in the real estate space, owning and renting. You want like, can you just tell me the shortcut? Like, can you just get me there? Less is more in any information space. I want the answer that gets me a result. Okay. Mm-hmm. The higher ticket masterminds are really built around higher level people. And that screening spot is not just so the host of the mastermind can make a ton of money. It's so the host of the mastermind can value their information appropriately, because it's worth $150,000 if you're in one of those. And the group that's there is a curated group. I put it together. It's kind of like having a yacht club. I hate boats. I get seasick. But it's kind of like having a yacht club. And there might be 2 slips left in the yacht club. Well, the other people in that yacht club, they want to know the person who's renting a slip next to them is going to take care of their property and not throw beer cans over into their boat and all that kind of stuff. And you'll notice that the higher up you go in the cost of the information, the more curated the room gets. And if you're in that room because you qualify and because you can afford it, you're going to realize that the people in that room are usually pretty awesome people. They're there because they qualified and they can afford it. And they're actually wanting to get stuff done. And they want the straightforward way to get it done. And that space is refreshing. So wherever your budget is, learn from the person you trust at the highest level they offer. I just give that advice over and over and over again. Learn from the person you trust at the highest level they offer. Get as much access to that person as possible. And if it's a group, it's even better. If they have a group program, go into their group program and go for the highest level.
Yeah. And I think that that's a good point, because there was a point in my life where the 25K thing, I mean, it just wasn't reasonable. Like I didn't have the money, literally didn't have the money.
Yeah.
But I could do $1,000. And that was the first thing I did was I bought $1,000 course. Then I went to a $5,000 conference. And then I met someone there that changed my life, became my loan sponsor, helped me close my first couple big deals. And then I joined a mastermind. I'm in Mark Evans' mastermind. That's $50,000 a year. But that was, a year and a half later. And at that point, I was ready. I had some things going on. I had funds to do it. But you're right. I mean, his mastermind is simple. It's a Zoom call once a month. And we do 2 or 3 get-togethers a year where we meet at, the Florida Keys or Ohio, typically is where he goes because he lives in Florida and Ohio. And that's it, but I'm friends with these people. I've been in it for 3 years now, and I'm friends with a lot of the guys in there. And I know everybody in there, they've got a multi-million-dollar business. They've got opportunity at their disposal. They're good people vetted by Mark, and they're able to afford to be in that room, right? They're not trying to rub 2 nickels together. And so, it really is those relationships, and really where the money and opportunity has come from out of that mastermind has been those relationships and those friendships, not necessarily directly from Mark, which is cool. Cause I think like as somebody who's running a small mastermind, the deal room, you feel a lot of pressure when you put these things on that you want to deliver for people. Mm-hmm. And I think as a shift to, I'm a facilitator, I'm putting these people in a room together. And if I do it right, these relationships will come out organically.
Yeah, that's so true. It really is. Love this conversation.
So I want you to coach me here. All right. I'm going to be vulnerable with my audience, vulnerable with Chris here, because many people have told me I should have a platinum level or whatever, a higher level, $10,000 a year, $50,000 a year mastermind. Maybe I take 10 guys and I'm personally mentoring them or whatnot. And I've kind of resisted that. The story that I've told myself is, that I don't want that. I don't want that responsibility. I feel like if somebody gives me that kind of money, now I'm like forced to make them successful. And it's just kind of gives me a little bit of pause. And so I've never done that. I mean, what do you say to people? Because you help people build these things. Mm-hmm. Do you ever come across anybody that feels the way I do?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you say that, because we have people in our masterminds who have huge audiences and some who have no audience, some who are paid, they'll get paid $80,000 for a speaking gig for an hour and a half at a conference, but they don't have a huge following. That's just their only thing. some who have huge lists and they're mega people out there. You see them all over social media, but they're not making money. And you think that huge following equals money. But it's funny how this stuff works sometimes. Here's the thing. We might think it's valuable to have a speaker for 80K on a stage for 45 minutes. But that speaker, just like you and I, we have insecurities about, yeah, but I'm getting paid to show up for somebody else's world to deliver this message. But when they pay me directly, now all of a sudden, oh my gosh, so much responsibility. But here's the truth of it. If somebody pays you $1, $100, $400, $1,000, $100,000, to them, that's the commitment. That's the old school handshake. You promise you do this. I promise I pay this. Our masterminds, your mastermind, anybody out there, if you're a person of integrity and you're actually committed to doing what's right for those people in your mastermind and helping them every way you can. When you're in a mastermind, you're not there to do the work for somebody. They got to do their own work, but you're there to meet them where they are and show them the way. If they pay you $50,000, $100,000, or $5, from a point of integrity, show up and do the freaking work. Get them where they need to go. It doesn't mean you have to be more committed at a higher dollar price. And I know you're obviously committed at a lower dollar price too. The point is, the higher dollar price for a lot of people is where they feel more comfortable, and they want to pay that because that equals quality to them. On the flip side of that thing, for all of us trying to sell our information, you got to be sustainable. If you're not sustainable and the profit margins aren't built into your business appropriately, where you get rest and you get energy back in your life from other places besides just working, then you're not going to be able to show up and deliver what those people have paid you to do. So they've got to pay the right amount so that you can continue helping them in the right way. It's a partnership, as all good business is.
Yeah, and that's something that Mark taught me. It's a commitment on their level, and it also affords you as the facilitator to give them a first-class experience, right? If you're scraping together, you're trying to do an event and it's $150 to come. It's like you can barely rent the venue. You're not going to have any significant speakers. Forget providing lunch or like cool toys or like a little phone chargers and all that crap that they give away at conferences. You're not going to have any of that. You're going to have just this cut rate, bare bones conference, and you're also going to attract the people that can afford $150, versus $1,000 conference or $5,000 conference. If you've got people paying $5,000 a ticket to go to that conference, sure, you're not going to sell thousands of tickets. However, you can make it a top-notch experience. You can have catered food. You can have the best speakers. I mean, Yaden and I, my partner, we're doing a conference in February, and the ticket price is $600. And almost all of the money we've plowed back into speaker fees and gifts and food and making this a really positive experience because we know that that's why people are coming. And so I didn't want to make it like as cheap as possible. I want to make it within reach for people, but I didn't want to just go bottom of the barrel. And so, yeah, with Mark's events, I mean, we're going to top-notch places, and yeah, it costs money to stay there, but we're building that, we deserve the best. We're in an elite group, and we're not slumming it, trying to just scrape by, right?
Mm-hmm.
That scarcity sort of mindset.
Yeah. I think, Jennings, this is an interesting conversation because so many of us have real big objections and fears and social issues and past beliefs around money. And it's all so relative. Like, you want to go to a place and be like, okay, we're not slumming it. We're going to do what's right for us. And somebody could say, oh, that's too much money, or that's not enough, or whatever. That's so relative. For some people, $100 is a ton of money. For some people, 100,000 is a ton. For some, 100 million is a ton. It's so relative. What's important is that you have the mindset that the people you serve deserve the best, you included, and that you're bringing that to them and helping them up to the next step wherever they are. And for so many of us out there, I started the same way you did. I didn't have enough money to join a mastermind. It was so hard for me to do $1,000 program. I remember breaking $1,000 program, one of the first e-courses I ever purchased. I broke it into I think they had a 3 or a 4 pay option, And I remember breaking it and be like, oh my gosh, I got to make sure in 30 days I have enough for the next payment of $300 or whatever. So scary. But I took that information, and that person gave me the best they could in that product. And it helped me step to the next level and the next level and the next level. And I think that is so valuable. So I totally applaud what you're doing for your community. And for all of you out there helping your next door neighbor, your kids, or a community for money in any way, yay you. Keep it up. Deliver gold every time.
Yeah, for sure. And I've found that the more that I revisit and focus on the deal room, like how can we make it better? How can we make it more effective? How can we get people more results? It becomes more and more fun. We get more and more results. And I really enjoy it. And I get these messages of like, hey, this changed my life. I closed this deal and my retirement is now secured. And it's just really, it's phenomenal. Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts a little bit of like, can you tell us some of the secret sauce or the nuts and bolts, like pull behind the curtain, like what goes on in building one of these? I mean, do you have an archetype that you follow or how does it work?
Yeah, we do. There's a very structured way to do this. And it comes down to three things. And again, half the people in our communities have enormous lists. Half of them have zero lists. All of them are experts in their field. They're amazing communicators like you, and they're natural givers. If you're an expert at what you do, you like communicating, you don't mind jumping on a Zoom call, and you're a natural giver, then you're going to love mastermind building or group coaching or any of that kind of thing because it just feeds the flame for all that. But here's the thing of what makes it work. You have to have scalable lead gen sources, okay? We, by the way, teach a ton of organic lead gen. You don't have to go to the paid path at all. You have to have a scalable lead gen model, though. You have to have scalable sales processes in place, and you have to have a scalable delivery model. If you don't have scalable in any of one of those three areas, then you're going to have a mastermind. You can get 10 people in a mastermind easy. Anybody can jump in and build a 10-person mastermind, okay? It's not hard. But your second, third, 10th mastermind, and if you want to grow to even bigger numbers and have like this big mastermind, like an inner circle on top of that, like a lot of people, all those things are super great, but you have to have scalable lead gen, scalable sales, and scalable delivery. And that's what we teach. We want everybody who starts their first mastermind or builds from a low ticket to a high ticket for the first time to have that end goal of, we're not doing this for one more mastermind. You're doing this in a way that's going to open all the doors so you can scale this thing as big as you want. And the cool thing about all this stuff is, if you do it right scalably, it doesn't take your time up because you're not the bottleneck. Every time we get in a scalable issue, it's because typically we as the founders, as the entrepreneurs, as the creators, we get in the way. We're the most important person in the room. And that's definitely not true. We don't teach that model.
Yeah.
Nobody has more time to add one more thing on their list. No way. Like, we just need a mastermind. So let's get it built and get out of the way.
Gotcha. I guess the hardest part is they've got to be an expert. They've got to have that 10,000 hours. They've got to really know their craft. And I totally believe that because I do see people that, they barely know what they're talking about. And they're out there trying to, I don't hold it against them, but I wonder how good the quality of that information is.
Yeah. My first mastermind I ever joined was Russell Brunson's at ClickFunnels.
Oh, wow.
And I remember gulping whenever I was joining it. It was $30K at that point. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is freaking me out. You had to like qualify to be in the room in Boise, Idaho. It's 50 people in there. And I was so like freaked out about getting in there. That was so expensive for me then. And I remember two things. One, oh my gosh, Russell's up there and we're learning the stuff from Expert Secrets from Russell Brunson. Cool. The other thing I instantly realized when I was in that room, I was like, oh my gosh, I've seen like 20 other guys in the past month with Facebook commercials teaching Expert Secrets because they freaking read the book and they went out and created an e-course around it. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to, just like you just said, I don't want to buy from the person who's not an expert. I want the person who's put in the 10,000 hours, and that's Russell Brunson in that world. Great. Find your guru. Jennings is obvious. I mean, Jennings, you're the guy in the multi-family, multi-unit rental space. Like, that's the gig. You're the guy. Everybody listening in right now, you got your thing, folks. You've put in the 10,000 hours on something. If you have, others are trying to. Help them get to the end of the line fast.
Yeah.
Just save them all the pain. Help them get there.
So how did this mastermind change your life with Russell Brunson? I mean, that's pretty intriguing. And when was that? How many years ago was this?
Oh, man, 6-7 years ago, I guess. It changed my life in one very significant way. I was trying to sell my information at a low ticket level. And I actually joined that mastermind to learn how to do it better, to sell my information at a relatively low ticket level. Because I thought everybody in this room is freaking rocking that stuff. They all have e-courses. They all have, all these different levels of memberships, blah, blah. I mean, I was there for 45 minutes and we were sharing the mic. Here's who we are. Everybody introduce yourself. I got up and introduced myself, told them what I did. And they're like, oh my gosh, dude, you need to quit selling low ticket stuff. Just go straight to the top rung of the value ladder. Sell a high ticket mastermind. Invite 20 people, 10 people, whatever. Charge $30K. They threw a price at me. Charge 25, $30K. Just do it. And I think it was 7 weeks later, I had a mastermind.
Hmm.
And honestly, the ClickFunnels world, the product and the mastermind did not teach me that. It was the other people in the room who I was like, I paid them to help me learn. They're the ones. They're like, we can show you how to do it. We've done it. And what happened is when I learned how to build that high ticket mastermind, I was getting paid to build and paid to learn the market that buys those things. And that changed everything on the bottom half of the value ladder for me, because now I really understood the perfect buyer and everything else became aligned. And that's when it all changed.
Can you repeat that? So you were paid to learn what? So I didn't get that.
Yeah. So if you're selling, let's just pick a price here. Let's say you're selling a $50,000 a seat mastermind. You're scared to death first time you've ever done it. Finding that lead, converting that lead, and then teaching them, right? Lead gen, sales, delivery, finding them, selling them, and helping them grow. That lead, that $50,000 person is the perfect person for you. They're a better fit than a $100 a month person. Just saying, they really are. So why would you not go ahead and get paid the 50 grand? Because it's just as much work to convert one of those as it is a $500 person. Get paid the 50 grand times 10, put 10 people in your group real quick, and document the heck out of that entire process. And then all the lead gen you do from now on forever should be towards that end. And you're going to find a lot of low ticket folks in that process, and they're going to buy your stuff, but you're going to find some really amazing humans at the same time. And those people will refer you out forever, and on it goes. That changes so much. It's like having a New York Times best-selling book and walking into a stage presentation. It's different than if you self-publish some crap on Amazon. Sorry, but it is. Yeah.
So why are they a better fit than the $100 a month person? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So I used to be the $100 a month person. Okay. So I'm not knocking the $100 a month person anymore. I'm knocking myself, and I'm not knocking myself. That's for sure. But me now, with my capacity with a team and my expertise and my reach and my ability to see and understand strategy, is way different than I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but 1 year ago, right? We're always learning. So when I was a $100 buyer, $500 buyer, I didn't have the support team to take your advice and do something with it, because I was the bottleneck. I didn't have the insight to know that the logo on my business card means practically nothing. I should just freaking get out there and close some deals. Because we all start that, well, what's the logo and what's that URL? .com or .info? Who freaking cares? Close some deals, right? There's a lot to the maturity of a market as it grows. And as you attract a higher and more mature market base, that's the ideal buyer. That's who you're attracting. That's who all your attraction methods should be going to that person. And the lower ticket folks will come along with the rush because they want to be that higher ticket person. And if you offer them an opportunity to take a next step, they will. But the higher ticket people will too.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And it is true. You know, the person that can do the higher ticket stuff typically has a lot more opportunity and resources at their disposal.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a opportunity, but you know, it's $20,000, $30,000 to get started. And so that cuts a lot of people out, right? But if you're in a mastermind, that's $50,000 a year, you probably have 20 or 30,000 laying around. You can take advantage of that, you know, or you have a network of people that you can connect with to make that sort of thing happen. Or you can help with raising capital for a deal. Hey, we got a business venture. I got connected through my mastermind to a business venture, and these guys needed $600K. So I put together 6 people, gave them $100K. I owned a piece of the business, and we went on, right? But without those sort of, I wouldn't have been able to make those connections 3 or 4 years ago. That's for sure.
Exactly.
You know, I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready. And there's nothing wrong with not being ready. There is a lot wrong with knowing you're not ready and not doing something about it.
Gotcha.
So for all of us, me included, again, find the person you trust, find your expert, and lean in at the highest level you can with that person. For us in our market, we actually offer different levels of what we teach because we know some people aren't ready for the next level. But we want to get them like, where are you now? Let's find that. Let's help you make some money and get something started. And then when you're ready, we will have made the money for you to be able to live a better life and step up into our next level. So you can do it again and again and again. And that's really important because we all start at different levels.
Right. Gotcha. So Chris, and we're going to probably wrap, but who can you help? Like, what is your avatar? You talked about perfect client. Who are you looking to connect with?
If you're an expert who's a great communicator, a natural giver, and you like truly know what you're doing in your space, you don't have to be a great marketer or a great salesperson or a great content delivery person. We teach all that. If you're an expert who can communicate well and you love seeing people change their life, that's what you want to invest in, we can build a mastermind or a group coaching program with you. And we're going to teach you how to do it in a highly profitable and very scalable way.
Gotcha. And this is Chris Williams of Group Coach Nation. Chris, what's the best way for people to connect if they're like, wow, I love that. That's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
Or I already have something going and I want to scale it. What's the best way?
Just hit me up on LinkedIn. Chris Williams HQ is my handle on LinkedIn, or jump on our website, groupcoachnation.com.
Okay.
Or go on our website and find our LinkedIn link. But either way, if you hit me up on LinkedIn and make a connection and send a message, hey, I heard you on Jennings' show, like ask your questions. Like happy to pitch back. My team is helping me out there as well. We will push you towards, we have tons of free training. We have so much stuff for you. Just learn how to do this. Get your brain around it. Take action. This is right for you. Don't sit on the couch. It's right for you. Get up, do something. That's the case in life always. If you find the thing that's right for you, go, get up and do it.
Gotcha. And we'll put those links in the show notes. So that'll do it for today. But I really appreciate you, Chris. Thanks for coming on. And my audience, thanks for listening, of course. So make it a great week. And don't forget to unlock your life.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.